Now, we don't just import culture here, obviously we export a lot of it too, not to mention marketing the performing and craft skills that underpin British creativity. How sustainable all that is in a climate where government investment in the arts is steadily dropping is one of the concerns of Campaign for the Arts, which tonight launches a new report detailing the scale of what it calls a crisis in the arts. In fact, they're launching it right now at the House of Lords with the help of arts world figures such as Grayson Perry, Jeremy Deller and the actor Sam West, who was a chair of the Campaign for the Arts for a time. He talked to us on his way to the launch about the report's findings, and I began by asking whether it had contained any surprises for someone so familiar with this landscape.
I think we were surprised by the extent of the decline. I mean, I've been a moaning lovey for many years, but the first thing to say is that the authors of this report are not. This is a serious document produced in collaboration with academics from Warwick University. It's objective and it's well researched, and they've crunched the numbers. If anything, things are even worse than we thought. I mean, if this is a health check for the arts, then the patient is very sick indeed.
Can you give us some sense of what?
Well, almost every metric is down. Many of them are hugely down. One of the few causes for optimism, actually, the figures on arts engagement. Tens of millions of us, the vast majority, still engage with the arts regularly, which I suppose makes it even more of a scandal that the state of the arts is so bad, because so many of us clearly care about it.
Governments of all complexions have usually recognised the soft power that culture and the arts gives Britain. And what does the report say about where we stand now in relation to other European countries?
Well, they talk the talk, but they're not walking the walk. In our league table of culture spending, the UK is 21st out of 25. So we're in the relegation zone, basically. We could increase our culture spending by a third and still be below the European average. We can and we should say that things are tough at the moment. The countries are finding it hard, but all countries are finding it hard. And the UK is one of a very small minority of them that reduced its total culture spending per person since 2010. There's a 6% decrease in the UK, which contrasts with increases of 22% in Germany, 25% in France, and an increase of 70% in Finland.
Yeah, so they're spending more abroad.
Well, they believe in the power of art to produce joy and to drive recovery. And also, it's important to say, at times of difficulty, that the amounts we're talking about compared to their impact are tiny. Huge differences can be made in the arts with millions, not billions.
The report highlights a trend in education, and a worrying trend. GCSE and A-level entries falling very steeply since 2010.
47% in GCSE arts subjects since 2010 and 29% fall in A-levels.
I think I read recently somewhere that only 32,000 pupils took GCSE music last year. And
I mean, that's an extraordinary... 96% of teenagers say they love music, but the number studying an instrument is fewer than at any time since records began. I mean, Jack Gamble and I, the director of CFTA, and I went to the first night of the Proms on Friday to see Isata Kanamason play a piano concerto beautifully. 24 hours earlier, her mother, Dr. Kadiatu Kanamason, who's speaking at the launch tonight, was at a school strike at Trinity Academy, where all 7 of her brilliant children went, in a deprived area of Nottingham. And she was there to protest against their proposed cuts in music. People were rightly astounded by the great music at the coronation. Sheku Kanamason played at the royal wedding. So if the school that produces the Kanamasons is cutting music education, who's going to play at the next one?
I think Bridget Phillipson, who's the new education secretary, has said that she's getting music and drama back on the curriculum is a priority.
I was enormously encouraged by that speech, yes, because she recognised it as not something for posh people to do in the evenings, but as something that the thing is, talent is no respecter of postcodes or how much your parents earn. The Kanamasons prove that. If the arts continue to be ignored like this, they will become even more of a middle-class hobby, and vast amounts of talent from all over the country will be wasted. If you squeeze that pipe of talent that produces Sheku and Isata shut, our world-leading arts won't be world-leading for very much longer.
This report also addresses earnings for those who work in the arts. What does it reveal about just how precarious a career in the arts is now?
I mean, I think the gut feeling that every artist has had in the last 15 years is now confirmed, that things are desperate. We haven't managed to recover audiences and engagement as much since the pandemic. And indeed, the recovery may have stalled and may even be going down. And that's despite the fact that small and medium-sized venues have reduced their ticket prices. So, people are doing what they can to this. But as you said at the beginning, we're incredibly good at this stuff, and it gives us amazing soft power. So, we're constantly being told this, not just by people like me who moan on about it, but by our politicians. So I think it's time for them to stop continually talking down and defunding arts degrees.
There absolutely does seem to have been a change in the rhetoric on that in terms of education and what Bridget Phillipson said. How hopeful are you that it's going to be backed up with money? Because you are one of a host of interest groups sort of moving towards the new government.
Yes, I mean, the way that the previous government dealt with us, and very kindly, we were very grateful for it, was through tax credits, which were extremely useful. And I think the reason people were so focused on them in the past is that it was so out of the question under the last government that there would be anything other than a cut in real investment. But we've seen a 30% cut in the Arts Council grant in 15 years. And as you say, 48%, nearly half of local government culture spending is gone. And, I write to all these culture leaders in councils, and they say, well, I completely agree with you. Here's my grant. It's half what it was. What would you cut? We have to say that for the amount of money that this is going to cost, these are truly life-changing and sometimes life-saving opportunities. People who are involved in not posh stuff for performers, but people who are involved in dance classes and performances and singing in choirs. I mean, they really do say it saves my life. And how do you put a value on that?
How indeed. Sam West talking there about the campaign for the Arts Report released today.